Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ranvir.
We've known each other for a long time.
We have, which is what's lovely about today, because we're actually great friends off screen as well, aren't we?
Yeah, and so this is lovely to be with you. But I realise this is your last and second day of your stint. Only 2 days, is that your...
2 days this week.
You had that in the contract. I'm only doing 2 days of early. That's it.
It's all I work.
Back to news at 10 after this.
No, I've had a great time the past couple of days and I got a bit more sleep last night. Not
Did
quite
you?
as many anxiety
Yeah.
dreams after the first shift was down, but yeah.
It's great, isn't it? Actually, I think that I got off a flight yesterday, so I've got a bit of jet lag this morning. So that sort of lack of sleep before coming up to, do a national breakfast programme is a bit of a thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But it's funny because yesterday I just caught a little bit of the show with you and Kate, and then obviously you want to go and see what everybody's thinking. Shall I tell you what people were writing about you?
Do
you want to know? On email, hooray, Paul Brand is presenting. A nice one, GMB. I'm very impressed, says someone on email. Yeah. Another one, lovely to see Paul Brand this morning on GMB. Welcome, Paul Brand, such a breath of fresh air. This morning, someone else on email saying, it's so nice to see Paul Brand on your show. He's amazing and incredibly good looking. It's made my day.
That's my husband, I think.
Quite right, too.
Or my mum.
Although, funny enough, there are no names attached to any of those, so it could be anybody. We don't know, friends and family.
Well, thank you for that very selective sample.
It is absolutely lovely. We've got plenty to talk to you about today, but one of the things that caught my eye was Matt Ford, who's a comedian. He's also a writer and a journalist and so on. Now, you've got a little one, haven't you?
1-year-old,
Oh,
yeah.
1-year-old. Now, Matt Ford is up at the Edinburgh Fringe, and and this happens.
Oh, that stresses you out, that noise.
So yes, exactly.
Even if
there
it's
are
not
people
your baby,
waking
it
up
just
all
makes
over
you
the
feel
country.
so tense.
So Matt Ford said someone brought their baby to my show last night. Sadly, it derailed large parts of it because they wouldn't do the decent thing and just leave when it started crying. I get that it must be tough as a new parent, but please don't bring babies to adult shows. It's always a problem. My gosh, this tweet has gone huge. Yeah. It's being written about today. It's had like 18,000 likes. I mean, I think socialising with a baby at all in the first year is quite to be commended. The idea of taking a baby out in the evening to a comedy show is... I couldn't imagine doing it.
No, I couldn't imagine doing it either, because nobody feels more awkward than me when my baby's crying at an event like that. I mean, it's bad enough that I was at a wedding the other week.
Yeah.
You have to sort of shuffle out the ceremony, don't you?
Yes.
You feel like you're ruining that person's big day.
Exactly.
So I just don't think I'd take him out on a night out.
Well, we're going to be debating that a little bit later on, actually, just about whether, actually, is it kind of wrong of Matt Ford to have said... He admits, he says, I realise it sounds a bit whiny, but he just doesn't want it to happen again. He says it's like someone's phone continually ringing and them not turning it off. He said he had loads of messages from people who were there who were very polite about it, but the fact that it annoyed them. That's
I think give it a go, but slip out when the baby starts
This is Matt
crying.
Ford here. Lots of people, though, criticising his comments, saying, actually, that's very exclusive. It doesn't really... new parents should be allowed to go out.
Absolutely.
And babies are part of society. Why should they be excluded from... things like that?
I agree. Give it a go, but like I say, then slip out if it starts to go right.
Exactly. So let us know if you've ever been annoyed by a baby at an evening event, at an adult event, and we'll be debating that a little bit later on. But first to today's top story. NHS leaders have written to the government warning that the country is facing, and I quote, a humanitarian crisis because of rising energy bills. They say many people will fall ill this winter if they're forced to choose between skipping meals and living in cold and damp conditions.
Their intervention comes just days before the regulator Ofgem is expected to announce a rise, again, in the energy price cap, which would come into effect in October. Labour's demanding that MPs are recalled to Parliament early to deal with the crisis. Of course, they're on their summer break right now, and Pip Thompson is in Manchester, where Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss will be taking part in yet another hustings later. And Pip, more pressure on the government to take immediate action while this whole leadership contest continues to rumble on and nobody is actually in a permanent position to do anything about this crisis.
Morning, Paul. Yeah, a very stark warning today from NHS.